do something for me, and you make sure that it's for me, I'll make sure the whole world knows about it. And the whole world becomes occupied with it. And the whole world practices what you practiced. It becomes a part of the pilgrimage without which you're not a Muslim. If you don't do what Hajar did for her little baby, you're not even a Muslim if you have the ability to do so. Mut in shi'ta Yahudiyan aw Nasraniyan, the tradition says. Die as a Christian, a Jew, a Buddhist, an atheist, an agnostic, whatever you want. You pick the title. If you don't go when you have the ability to do so, and you don't do what Hajar did, you can't consider yourself to be a Muslim. Because Hajar, when she set out to go to Mecca, she did so with a sincere intention. It's a universal law. There's no way around it. There's nothing we can do to stop it or to limit it. Look at the story of Imam Hussein. If you think about it, look at what, subhanallah. There are times, we mentioned that these are laws, right? Of course, obviously, let me just say this parenthetically, you can't take one of these laws and use it in defiance to another law and expect good results. You can't. If you sever your family relations with relatives, perform what the religious texts and the traditions of Ahlul Bayt refer to as qat'ur rahim, there is no way you could expect good results. Good intentions, positive thinking, all that sort of stuff becomes useless. A person comes to Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, and he happens to be the son of the king at the time of Imam al-Sadiq. Who's the king at the time of Imam al-Sadiq? He's a man who murders people for fun. He's a man who used to bring a clown, dress him up with a green turban, have him put some clothes beneath his shirt so that he looks a little bit more chubby, and ask him to dance around saying, "Ana al-anza'u al-batin, ana amir al-mu'minin." Mock the commander of the faithful, Amir al-Mu'mineen. This tyrant at the time of Imam al-Sadiq kills people for fun, as we mentioned. His son comes to Imam al-Sadiq and he says to him, "Ya ibn Rasulullah, I know how vicious, how evil, how murderous my father is, and I believe in you and I love you, the Ahlul Bayt. Do you give me permission to kill my father? I need to put a stop to all of this. I can't take this anymore. He's a murderer, he's a killer. He deserves to be killed." Imam says to him, "You should never kill your father because you're his son. There's a special bond there. I know his father is evil, but as a son, you just can't do this. You can't kill your father. If you do, the natural consequence of this act of yours will be the fact that Allah will sever your life. You will have a very short lifespan. You won't go to hell, because you've done what needs to be done to this person. He deserves what he's getting. But as a son, you shouldn't be the one doing it." Despite that, despite the instructions of the Imam, this young man goes and he kills his father. Within 6 months he dies. You can't defy physical laws. And this is one of them, my brothers and sisters. You do something for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes sure that act of yours is not just multiplied. Allah can multiply certain acts. كمثل حبة أنبتت كمثل سنبلة أنبتت حبة أنبتت 7 سنابل في كل سنبلة 100 حبة, Allah says. Allah can multiply certain acts by a factor of 700 times. Not just give you one thawab for one good deed. No, if the good deed is really good, if it's really sincere, Allah will give you 700 rewards in exchange. Right? But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in that same verse, وَاللَّهُ يُضَاعِفُ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ. His hands aren't tied. No, He can give even more to those that He wishes to give to. He doesn't just multiply the deed, He amplifies the deed. Look at the day of Ashura. We hear stories about, for example, Al-Qasim ibn al-Hasan. Al-Qasim, a young boy, 11 years old according to some traditions, 13 according to others. This young boy, in the middle of the desert, facing an army of 30,000 people, armed to the teeth, having no intention but to shed the blood of these 72 individuals, as well as the household of Imam al-Hussein, right? He goes out into the battlefield. Then the tradition states, فَانْقَطَعَ شِسْعُ نَعْلِهِ. His sandals that he was wearing, one of them gets cut off. Even this little minor insignificant detail is recorded in history for everyone to know. Look at you. You're living in an area located 15,000 kilometers away from the land of Karbala. 15,000. Think about it. And yet, you're here. You come here every single year to hear the same stories, listen to the same sequence of events, hear the same sermons, the same message, the same conversations, the same details, everything over and over again as if you've never heard it before. Why? I mean, if this was no divine intervention, if this was no promise being fulfilled, no covenant being upheld by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what is it? If this was not God's way of supporting the servant that supported him, then what is it? I mean, 1,300 years ago, some little skirmish battle that doesn't even last half a day, 4, 5, maybe 6 hours, takes place in the middle of a desolate land, a desert in the middle of nowhere. 120 odd people get killed. I mean, think about this, brothers and sisters. Human beings have a very short attention span. You know, big events cancel each other out. If I called everyone to come here tonight so I could talk to them about the Mayan civilization, for example, or the Inca battles between one another and the different tribes, would anyone show up? Definitely not, because this to you is a history lesson. And I don't know about you, but history really isn't one of my favorite topics. This kind of history. You know, some little tribe fought another tribe and big deal, they got killed. They killed each other out. Who gives a damn? This is the mentality of any human being, really. Unless, of course, it was turned into a movie and sensationalized by Mel Gibson. That's when it becomes interesting. But only then, only for a couple of hours of entertainment. That's the only value that it holds. Not much more. When you go watch a movie, it's not always that this happens. When you go watch a movie, then come back home and spend the next couple of nights discussing it over tea or dinner with your family. It doesn't happen because to you, the only value that this story has, be it true or false, is that it's entertainment. It's something you want to watch because on a Saturday night, you were bored and didn't have much better to do. You decided to go watch the movie. So what's so special about Ashura? 500,000 days have passed. Roughly. About 455,000 days. Almost 500,000. And yet that day, the day of Ashura, is today greater than ever. 300 million people commemorate the day of Ashura in such a way that to an outsider, it looks